read in the Bible, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and ye shall be saved. But it is not enough mentally believing in the warnings of dangers that you and I may be going through. You must act upon it. So let me ask this question to you. Do you believe that Jesus is coming soon? If that is so, is that belief exemplified, shown in your life, in the actions that you take, in the activities that you participate, and in everything that you do? Is that reflected? Do we believe in the soon coming of Jesus Christ? You know, Noah took 120 years to build the ark. Day after day, Noah pleaded with people to repent and to be saved. And we find that only 8 people were saved. But God, let me say this to you, but God is far less interested in how many people are saved through your individual testimony. Oftentimes when you conduct evangelistic meetings or when young people participate in evangelistic activities through literature distribution or whatever activity that you may be engaged in, we may think that the Lord may be interested in the numbers. But God is far more interested with our faithfulness in witnessing to the sin-sick world. That is the primary interest God is showing in yourself and in myself and in the activities that we are doing for God. He is not interested so much in the numbers, but He is interested in your faithfulness to witness in your own limited way to the world that is groping in darkness. A lesson for each one of us. You know, Noah was not satisfied to be saved alone. He preached that many people would be saved. We find that only his family ultimately was saved. Likewise, young people, we should not be concerned only of ourselves being saved, but everyone around us and everyone that you come in contact with we must show interest in the saving of those people. And so how you can engage in doing that, but by service to God. Day after day, Noah preached on the coming judgment of the great flood. Noah was preaching, and the ark itself were a testimony to the lost people of the day. The power of one man who had implicit faith in God. Secondly, the power of one little girl, instrumental in healing a military leader of that time. The courage of one little girl. You'll find that in 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 to 3. Then she said to her master, "If only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy." There was nothing novel about this little young maid. Her lot was common to thousands of people who went through those cruel days of intertribal warfare in that area. Her name is not mentioned. Who would in fact expect such a girl to be mentioned in the Bible. But we find that in the book of life, her name is not mentioned, but what she has done is mentioned time and again. It is not how significant you and I may be, but however insignificant you and I may be, God uses you if you are committed to Him. God uses ordinary people to accomplish great things for Him. You know, this young girl was interested, was bold enough to tell her mistress. She could have had many reasons why she should not be saying this to him. What if the mistress did not listen to what she said? What if, after going to that prophet, if he was not healed, what could be the consequence of this girl? She knew Naaman was not a believer in God. How can she impress? But the fact is, as we find in the Bible, that she took courage. She was prepared for any kind of consequences, knowing that people can even laugh at her words. She went ahead and shared the faith that she had. She asserted let me say this, that as young people, whether you are studying in an Adventist institution or in a non-Adventist institution, whether we are working in the church or outside of the church, doubtless you can find many reasons why we should not take courage with both hands folded and declare that which we know of God. Many times we are hesitant, we are reluctant to share that which we know about God because of what you probably expect, the kind of response you may be expecting to get. But contrary to that, you find this young girl who asserted her convictions about Jehovah, the one who is all-powerful, who can lead you out of embarrassment, who can deliver you from your enemies, who can deliver you from your sin and damnation. She asserted herself. You know, I'm reminded of a story that was told about a young professor who was teaching a class in philosophy. For 3 months in the semester, for 300 people, he used to teach only logic and reasoning, how God could not exist. For 20 years, even those who were in the class who believed in God never stood up. Because every time the semester ended, the last day he would say that he will throw a piece of chalk and say, if God is existing, let him make it possible for this chalk piece not to be broken. But every time he did, 20 years, every semester, the chalk piece was broken. And so he continued to ask that question. One day, one semester, a Christian boy entered the class. He heard about him. He didn't want to take this class, but it was a mandatory class requirement, and he took. And for 3 months, every morning, he prayed to give him courage to stand up to him. The last day came. He made this challenge. Is there anyone who still believes that there is a God living? From one corner of that room, this young fellow stood up. He stood up, and the professor and the class, 300 students, were shocked to see somebody standing. And he said, "You fool! All these 3 months I have been teaching you that God could not be in existence. If God was existing, then let him break. Let him protect this chalk piece from breaking into pieces." And so he went forward to do the same thing that he had been doing every semester of the year for 20 years. He took the chalk piece, and the story says that chalk piece slipped from his fingers, went onto his cuff, and dropped by the pleats of his pant, rolled down the shoe, and rolled onto the ground unbroken. And this man was shocked. He looked at him, and all the students looked at him. He looked at him, and he ran out of the hall. This young man took that opportunity, went up to the front of the class, and shared for half an hour what Jesus meant to him and how Jesus is willing to save each one of you. The power of one man. The power of one man. Thirdly, the power of one who was available. You read this story in John chapter 6, verses 19 to 13, how one boy was instrumental and partner with God in performing a miracle that 5,000 people could be fed. Let me share this with you. God's choice of people is not based on our ability, but on our availability. Many times we look toward people who are able. I'm not saying we should not be doing, but that is not the way God looks at. God's basis of making people work is not on the basis of our ability, but by our availability. So the power of one can be experienced by everyone. God does not discriminate on the basis of ability, but on the basis of our availability. So we find that this little boy who at the right time was in the right place because God chose him. And this little boy was interested in following Jesus Christ. He could have gone like all other boys to play and to do his daily duties. But he went that day to watch Jesus Christ. Christ commits to his followers an individual work. It is true, all of us can work in various different avenues. You can serve him with your money, but he needs willing, available people to witness and to take the gospel to all the world. Sometimes we think that money can be provided to the church to take care of the work that the Lord has assigned to us. It is good. Money has its own purpose. But God is looking forward to people who are willing to completely surrender himself for the ministry of the church to take this gospel to the world. Fourthly, the power of one man's obedience rescued mankind from ruin. We know of the power of one man in Jesus Christ who was obedient unto death. Here we find Adam who rebelled and was damned to eternal destruction. Here we find another person who was fully obedient to his father to save mankind. One man's disobedience brought condemnation and judgment to all men, and one man's obedience brought justification for our life. All of us have reaped the results of Adam's sin, but we have inherited a sinful nature, and because of Jesus, however, we can trade condemnation for forgiveness. We can trade our sin for Jesus' righteousness. We can trade our way for the way of Jesus, the power of one man who was obedient unto death. Young people, as I conclude, let me share this with you. So, can one person really make a difference for eternity? Yes, with compassion, one person can make a big difference. The difference can be bad influence or it can be good influence. The difference can impact just one or it can impact millions of people. The difference can be practical, material, and for that particular day, or it can have eternal consequences. Somebody may be in heaven because of you. Somebody may have kept going when they were tempted to give up because of you. Somebody in the church, somebody may be in the church because of you. Somebody may be in the ministry because you have influenced him through your own personal life and example. Therefore, do not devalue yourself, what you can achieve for God. Do not underestimate the power that one person can make in the world and in a community and in the life of people. The message of the cross is the message of one message, the power of one message, to save or to shame. I would like to leave with you the challenge of one. In 1 year, every one of you either evangelize one, restore one, or teach one. Just continue to make yourself to be available, to be courageous, to keep faith until Jesus returns. I want to throw this challenge to the young people. God has a purpose for each one of you. God's mission cannot be accomplished by a selected group of young people. For this mission to be accomplished, God requires every young person. The church has recognized the importance of young people. It was stated that the early church, the leaders that were in the early church were less than 35 years old at that time. We are talking about the revival and reformation. And there is one statement that all of us know. The greatest and most urgent need of the church is a revival of true godliness. The revival of primitive godliness. To me, primitive godliness is the godliness that was manifested by the heroes of our faith at the beginning of our church. They sacrificed, they never bothered about what money that they will be given. Their only focus was to go and preach the gospel. They gave everything that they had. They were not concerned about the money. You know, the field is white and ready for harvest. It is not going to be money that is going to accomplish the mission of the church. It is going to be the commitment of every person. And so the challenge is be committed to work fully for the mission of the church, that this work that God has assigned to us may be accomplished. May the Lord bless and inspire you to make this decision.
Love, care, and serve for